Good morning and welcome to all of you to the second annual Poetry Out Loud competition. We have a fantastic array of students who will definitely be able to impress you with their talent, with their skill, with their subtlety, and definitely with their emotion when it comes to their recitation of these various forms of poetry.
So please welcome Halstead Coleman Selby to the stage.
'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the boregroves, and the momraths outgrabe. Beware the jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the jub-jub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the man's own foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. But as in uffish thought he stood, the jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1-2, 1-2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he came galumphing back. And hast thou slain the jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, callooh-callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogroves, and the momraths outgrabe. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's get this party going. From Alton High School, first in line is Jordan Pfeiffer. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes to the stage.
O Captain, my Captain, by Walt Whitman. O Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack, the prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells I hear, the people all exulting, while follow eyes the steady keel, our vessel grim and daring. But oh heart, 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 oh the bleeding drops of red, while on the deck my captain lies, fallen, cold and dead. O Captain, my Captain, rise up and hear the bells. Rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills. For you bouquets and ribboned wreaths, for you the shores are crowding. For you they call, the swaying mast, their eager faces turning. Here, Captain, dear father, the arm beneath your head. It is as a dream that on the deck you've fallen cold and dead. My captain does not answer. His lips are pale and still. My father does not feel my arm. He has no pulse nor will. The ship is anchored safe and sound, the voyage closed and done. From fearful trip the victor ship has come with object won. So exult, O shores, and ring, O bells, but I, with mournful tread, walk the deck my captain lies, fallen, cold and dead.
Next in line from the Beck Area Center, Beck Area Career Center in Red Bud, Illinois, Noah Jordan.
Alone by Edgar Allan Poe. From the year of my childhood, I had not been as others were. I had not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrows, my heart I could not awaken to joy at the same tone, and all I loved alone. Then, my childhood, and the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn from every depth of good and ill, the mystery which binds me still. From the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky, as it passed me flying by. From the thunder and the storm and the cloud, I took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view.
Third in line from Edwardsville High School, Kayla Sylvie.
I'm doing Switchblade by Michael Ryan. Most of the past is lost, and I'm glad mine's vanished. Into blackness or space or whatever. Nowhere. What we do and feel goes. But there were a few cool Sunday afternoons when Father wasn't sick with hangover, and the air in the house wasn't foul with anger, and the best china had been cleared after the week's best meal, so he could place on the table his violins to polish with their special cloth and oil. The 3 violins he'd arrange, side by side in their velvet-lined cases with enough room between them for the lids to lie open. They looked like children in coffins. 3 infant sisters whose hearts had stopped for no reason. But after he rubbed up their scrolls and waists, along the lines of grain to the highest sheen, they took on the knowing postures of women, in silk gowns, in magazine ads for new cars and ocean voyages, and as if a violin were a car in storage that needed a spin around the block every so often. For 15 minutes he'd play each one, though not until each horsehair bow had been precisely tightened, coated with rosin, and we had undergone an eon of tuning. And when he played, no one was allowed to speak to him. He seemed to see something drastic across the room, or feel it through the handkerchief patting the chin board. So we'd hop in front of him, waving our hands or making pig noses, the way the kids do to the guards at Buckingham Palace. And after he'd finished and returned to himself, he'd softly curse the idiocy of his children. Beneath my mother, yelling to him from the kitchen, "That was beautiful, Paul. Play it again." But he never did. And I always hoped he wouldn't, because the whole time I was waiting for his switchblade to appear. And the news stories he'd tell me, for the scar thin as a seam up the white underside of his forearm, for the chunks of proud flesh on his back and belly, scarlet souvenirs of East St. Louis dance halls in the 20s, cornered in men's rooms, ganged in blind alleys, always slashing out alone with his knife. First, the violins had to be back in their black cases, for who knew how many more months, or years, or lifetimes. Then he had to pretend to have forgotten why I was still sitting there, wide-eyed across from him, long after my brother and sister had gone off with friends. Each time, as if only an afterthought, would he sneak into his pocket and ease the switchblade onto the bare table between us, its thumb button jutting from its pearl and silver plating like the eye of some sleek prehistoric fish. I must have known it would never come to life and slither toward me on its own. But when he'd finally nod for me to take it, its touch still warm with his body heat, I could feel the blade inside aching to flash open with a terrible click. That sounds like now, like just another tisk of disappointment. It's become so sweet and quiet. Thank you.
Next, from A-Town, Alton High School, Ryan Logsdon. I'm sure Ryan's going to need to raise this up.
Mother to Son by Langston Hughes. Well, son, I tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. It's had tacks in it and splinters and boards torn up and places with no carpet on the floor. There. But all the time, I've been climbing on and reaching landings and turning corners. And sometimes going in the dark where there ain't been no light. So boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps because you find it's kind of hard. Don't you fall now. For I'm still going, honey. I'm still climbing. and life for me ain't been no crystal stair.
Getty Jones. Let's welcome him to the stage.
In Camouflaging the Chimera by Yusef Kamonyaka. We tied branches to our helmets. We painted our faces and rifles with mud from a riverbank. Blades of grass hung from the pockets of our tiger suits. We wove ourselves into the terrain, content to be a hummingbird's target. We hugged bamboo and leaned against a breeze off the river, slow dragging with ghosts. From Saigon to Bangkok, with women left in doorways reaching in from America. We aimed at dark-hearted songbirds. In our way station of shadows, rock apes tried to blow our cover, throwing stones at the sunset. Chameleons crawled our spines, changing from day to night, green to gold, gold to black. But we waited till the moon touched metal, till something almost broke inside us. VC struggled with the hillside like black silk wrestling iron through grass. We weren't there. The river ran through our bones. Small animals took refuge against our bodies. We held our breath, ready to spring the L-shaped ambush as the world revolved under each man's eyelid.
Next in line, Ryan Harrison from Edwardsville High School.
Scary Movies by Kim Adenazio. Today, the cloud shapes are terrifying. And I keep expecting some enormous black and white B-movie cyclops to appear at the edge of the horizon, to come striding over the ocean and drag me from my kitchen to the deep cave that flickered into my young brain one Saturday at the Baronet Theater, where I sat helpless between my older brothers, pumped up on candy and horror. That cave, the litter of human bones gnawed on and flung toward the entrance. I can smell their stench as clearly as the bacon fat from breakfast. This is how it feels to lose it. Not sanity, I mean. But whatever it is that helps you get up in the morning and actually leave your house on days when it seems like death in his brown uniform is cruising his panel truck of packages through your neighborhood. I think of my friend's voice on her answering machine. Hi, I'm not here. The morning of her funeral. The calls filling up the tape and the mail still arriving. And I feel as afraid as I was after all those vampire movies. When I'd come home and lie awake all night, rigid in my bed, unable to get up even to pee, because the undead were waiting underneath it. If I so much as stuck my bare foot out in the unprotected air, they'd grab me by my ankle and pull me under. But my parents said there was nothing there. When I was older, I would know better. And now they're dead. And I'm older, and I know better.
Next up from A-Town, Alton High School, Brittany Holt. Let's give a round of applause.
The Glove and the Lions by Leigh Hunt. King Francis was a hearty king and loved a royal sport. And one day, as his lions fought, sat, looking on the court, the nobles filled the benches, and the ladies in their pride. And mongst them sat the Count de Lorge, with one for whom he sighed. True, it was a gallant thing to see that crowning show, valor and love, and the king above and the royal beasts below, Ramped and roared the lions with horrid laughing jaws. They bit, they glared, gave blows like beams, a wind went with their paws. With wallowing might and stifled roar they rolled on one another, till all the pit, with sand and mane, was in a thunderous smother. The bloody foam above the bars came whisking through the air. Said Francis then, "Faith, gentlemen, we're better here than there." Dolores' love o'erheard the king, a beauteous, lively dame, with smiling lips and sharp, bright eyes, which always seemed the same. She thought, "The Count, my lover, is brave as brave can be. He surely would do wondrous things to show his love of me. King, ladies, lovers, all look on. The occasion is divine. I'll drop my glove to prove his love. Great glory will be mine." She dropped her glove to prove his love, and looked at him and smiled. He bowed, and in a moment leaped among the lions wild. The leap was quick, return was quick. He has regained his place. Then threw the glove, but not with love, right in the lady's face. "By God," said Francis, "rightly done," and he rose from where he sat. "No love," quoth he, "but vanity sets love a task like that."
Rounding out our first round will be Carter Kane from Edwardsville High School.
All right, I'm going to be doing the satirical elegy on the death of a late famous general by Jonathan Swift. His grace impossible, what, dead? Of old age, too, and in his bed. And could that mighty warrior fall, and so inglorious, after all? Well, since he's gone, no matter how, the last loud trump must wake him now. And trust me, as the noise grows stronger, he'll wish to sleep a little longer. And could he be indeed so old, as by the newspapers we're told? 70, I think, is pretty high. 'Twas time, in conscience, that he should die. This world he'd cumbered long enough. He'd burnt his candle to the snuff. And that's the reason some men think he left behind so great a stink. Behold, his funeral appears, nor widow's sighs, nor orphan's tears won't at such times each heart to pierce, attend the progress of his hearse. But what of that? His friends may say that he had those honors in his day. True to his profit and his pride, he made them weep before he died. Come hither, all ye empty things, ye bubbles raised by breath of kings who float upon the tide of state. Come hither and behold your fate. Let pride be taught by this rebuke, how very mean a thing's a duke. From all his ill-got honors flung, turn to that dirt from whence he sprung.
That completes our first round, ladies and gentlemen. Please. We'll re-begin with, as we began with the first round, with Jordan Pfeiffer from Alton High School. Let's welcome him as he comes to the stage.
Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the momraths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, and the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, and long time the mansome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And, as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes aflame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through and through. His vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he came galloping back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. Oh, Frauche stay, Callooh, Calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the boar-goves, and the mome-raths outgrabe.
Our second performer is Noah Jordan from the Beck Area Career Center. Let's welcome him.
Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
Third, Kayla Sylvie from Edwardsville High School. Let's welcome her. She comes.
I'm doing Iowa City, Early April, by Robert Haas. This morning, a cat, bright orange, pawing at the one patch of new grass in the sand and tan-barked colored leaves. And last night, the sapphire of the raccoon's eyes in the beam of my flashlight. He was climbing a tree beside the house, trying to get onto the porch, I think, for a wad of oatmeal simmered in cider from the bottom of the pan we'd left out for the birds. And earlier, a burnished, somewhat dazed woodchuck, his coat gleaming with spring, looping into his burrow in the roots of a tree, among the drying winter's litter of old leaves on the floor of the woods when I went out to get the New York Times. And the male cardinals, their whistles, they're whistling back and forth to each other. Zoop, zoop, zoop. Sets of 3 sweet, full notes, weaving into and out of each other like the triplet rhymes of medieval poetry. And the higher, pure notes of the titmice, high in the trees, catching what they could of the early sun. And a doe and 2 yearlings, picking their way along the whirring path they made through the gully. Their coats, the color of the forest floor, stopped at the roots of the hazelnut tree where the woodchuck's burrow was, froze, and the doe looked back at me, over her shoulder for a long moment, and leapt forward, her young following, and bounded with a menacing precision up the gully, over it, and into the woods. It reminded me of dreaming last night that a doe walked into my kitchen as I was sitting there writing, came through the glass door, and looked at me with a still defiant terror, like a thing with no choices. Line?
And neck bobbing.
In neck bobbing.
In that fragile seeming.
In that fragile seeming mix of arrest and liquid motion, came to the table and picked up a slice of apple and stood there and quietened. And then, to my surprise, did not leave again. And the little captains, the chickadees, swift to the feeder and swift away. And the squirrels with their smoke-plumed tails, trailing and digging in the leaves to bury or find buried. I'm told they don't remember where they put things, that it's always an activity of incessant discovery. And the flame-head woodpecker at the suet, his black and white ladder-back, elegant fierceness. They take sunflower seeds, and they stash them in the rough ridges of the tree's bark, where the smoke and steel blue nuthatches can't quite get them. But the nuthatches sometimes seem to get them, as they search the trees methodically for spiders' eggs, I believe, and other insects intricately packaged futurity, got from their own body before the cold. And the little bat in the kitchen light well. I got up on a chair to try to free it from the plastic wrapped around it. As soon as I freed it and let it loose, it flew straight into my face, and I toppled to the floor. It flared out down the hallway with what seemed like a frantic reconnoiter of the high-windowed and walled living room. And then it lit on a brass fire log where it looked like a brown and ash-gray teenage suede glove with Mephistophelian dreams. And a spurt of black sperm up out the window and into the twilight woods. All this life going on about my life, or living a life about all this life going on around me. Being a creature, whatever the drama of my moment, living on the edge of the raccoon's world. He froze in my flashlight beam and looked down. Just looked down. No affect, just looked. The coon's tail, it curled, and then it flared to make him look bigger and not to be messed with. I kept thinking he couldn't tell how much I loved the charming look of his black little mask, the comic book character mask. And then, mine.
That his experience of his being.
That his experience of his being, and mine of his, and his of mine, were entirely apart. Mine.
Though there were between us.
There were between us probably energies of shrewd or respect. Yes. Mine.
Based on curiosity and
Based on
fear.
curiosity and fear. I knew as much about his talents as he knew about me. Mine.
And as for my experience,
And as for my experience with myself, it comes and goes. I don't feel it's any one thing, for my experience with these creatures is not. Which is why I always feel too far from it or too near. Line, please.
glad to be rid.
Glad to be rid of it. Which is why it was of such happiness. The orange of the cat, and the green of the first pool of grass, and the bird song. That orange and that green, not colors you'd set next to each other in the human scheme. And the crow's call, even before you open your eyes at sunup. Thank you.
Next up, Mr. Ryan Logsdon from Alton High School.
Poetry by Mary Ann Moore. I too dislike it. There are things that are important beyond all this fiddle. Reading it, however, with a perfect contempt for it, one discovers in it, after all, a place for the genuine. Hands that can grasp, eyes that can dilate, hair that can rise if it must. These things are important, not because a high-sounding interpretation can be put upon them, but because they are useful. When they become so derivative as to become unintelligible, the same thing may be said for all of us, that we do not admire what we cannot understand. The bat holding on upside down, or in quest of something to eat. A wild horse taking a roll. A tireless wolf under a tree. The immovable critic twitching his skin like a horse that feels a flea. The baseball fan. The statistician. Nor is it valid to discriminate against business documents and school books. All these phenomena are important. One must make a distinction, however, when dragged into prominence by half-poets. The result is not poetry. Nor till the poets among us can be literalist of the imagination, above insolence and triviality, and can present for inspection imaginary gardens with real toads in them, shall we have it. In the meantime, if you demand on one hand the raw material of poetry in all its rawness, and that which is on the other hand genuine, you are interested in poetry.
Getty Jones from Beck Area Career Center.
It was not death, for I stood up, by Emily Dickinson. It was not death, for I stood up, and all the dead lie down. It was not night, for all their bells put out the tongues for noon. It was not frost, for on my flesh I felt siroccos crawl. Nor fire, for just my marble feet could keep a chancel cool. And yet it tasted like them all. The figures I have seen set orderly for burial reminded me of mine, as if my life were shaven and fitted to a frame, and could not breathe without a key, and 'twas like midnight, some, when everything that ticked had stopped, and space stares all around, or grisly frosts, first autumn morns, repeal the beating ground. But most like chaos, stopless, cool, without a chance or spar, or even a report of land to justify despair.
Coming up next, Ryan Harrison from Edwardsville High School.
Sentimental by Albert Goldbarth. The light has traveled unthinkable thousands of miles to be condensed, recharged, and poured off the white pages of an open Bible the country parson holds in front of this couple in a field in July, in the sap and the fly swirl of July, where their vows buzz and ring in the air like the flies, and are as sweet as the sap in these rich and ritual minutes. Is it sentimental? Oops. And out of that Bible, the light continues to rush as if from a faucet. There will be a pie crust cooling out of its own few X'd out cuts. And will it make us run for the picklier taste of irony, rolled around protectively on our tongues like a grab of Greek olives? My students and I discuss this slippery phenomenon. Does context matter? Does earned count? If a balled-up fidget of snakes in the underbrush dies in a freeze, is it sentimental? No. Yes, maybe. What if it a litter of cocker spaniels? What if we called them puppy dogs in the same poem, in the same hard hammering winter? When my father was buried, the gray snow in the cemetery was sheet tin. If I said that? Yes? No? What does tone or history do to the Hollywood hack violinists who patiently wait to play the taut nerves of the closest human body until from that lush cue alone the eyes swell moistly? In the griefs we warehouse daily, take advantage of this thinning of our systems. Then the first sloppy gushes begin. Is that wrong? Did I tell you the breaths of the gravediggers puffed out like factory smoke as they bent and straightened mechanically? Fine. Are wise old toothless black blues singers sentimental? Grandma, country cookin'? But they have their validity, don't they? Yes? They're sweating the creases, picking up the lighting in a fine-lined mesh of what it means to have gone through time alive a little bit on this planet. Hands shoot up. Opinions, questions. What if the sun wept, the moon? Why in the face of those open faces are we so squeamish? Call out the crippled girl and her only friend, the up-for-sale foal, and let her tootle her woeful penny whistle musics. What if some she-she streetwise junk-ass from the demimonde gave forth with the story of orphans forced through howling storm to the workhouse, letting it swing between the icy blue quotation marks of cynicism? Then, what if I wept? What if I simply put the page down, rocked my head in my own folded elbows, forgot the rest of it all, and wept? What if I stepped into the light of that page, a burnished and uncompromising light, and walked back up to his stone a final time? Just that, no drama, and it was so cold and the air was so brittle, metal buckled out song like bandsaw. And there, from inside me, where they'd been lost in shame and sophistry all these years now, every last one of my childhood's heart-wormed puppy dogs found its natural voice.
Next up, Brittany Holt from Alton High School.
My Father in the Night Commanding No by Lewis Simpson. My father in the night, commanding no, has work to do. Smoke issues from his lips. He reads in silence. The frogs are croaking and the street lamps glow. And then my mother winds the gramophone. The bride of Lammermoor begins to shriek. Or reads a story about a prince, a castle, and a dragon. The moon is glittering above the hill. I stand before the gateposts of the king. So runs the story of Thule at midnight when the mice are still. And I have been in Thule, it has come true. The journey and the danger of the world, all that there is to bear and to enjoy, endure and do. Landscapes, seascapes, where have I been led? The names of cities, Paris, Venice, Rome held out their arms. A feathered god, seductive, went ahead. Here is my house. Under a red rose tree, a child is swinging. Another gravely plays. They are not surprised that I am here. They were expecting me. And yet my father sits and reads in silence. My mother sheds a tear. The moon is still, and the dark wind is murmuring that nothing ever happens. Beyond his jurisdiction as I move, do I not prove him wrong? And yet, it's true. They will not change. There on that stage of terror and of love. The actors in that playhouse always sit in fixed positions. Father, mother, child. With painted eyes. How sad it is to be a little puppet. Their heads are wooden, and you once pretended to understand them. Shake them as you will. They cannot speak. Do what you will. The comedy is ended. Father, why did you work? Why did you weep, Mother? Was the story so important? Listen, the wind said to the children, and they fell asleep.
And completing our second round, I should say, Carter Kane from Edwardsville High School.
All right, hey there. I'm going to be doing I Am by John Clare. I am. Yet what I am, none cares or knows. My friends forsake me like a memory lost. I am the self-consumer of my woes. They rise and vanish in oblivious hosts like shadows in love's frenzied, stifled throes. And yet, I am and live. Like vapors tossed into the nothingness of scorn and noise, into the living sea of waking dreams, where there is neither sense of life or joys. But the vast shipwreck of my life's esteems, even the strangest, that I love the best, seem strange, nay, perhaps stranger than the rest. I long for scenes where man hath never trod, a place where woman neither smiled or wept, there to abide with my Creator, God, and sleep like I in childhood sweetly slept, untroubling and untroubled where I lie, the grass below, above, the vaulted sky.
Next up is the tabulation of the scores. So we will be awarding certificates along as well, obviously, with the winner. Our runner-up is Carter Kane. And the champion for this edition, this year, of Poetry Out Loud is Brittany Holt. Let's give all of our contestants, all of our competitors, a round of applause.